and I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
What an incredible last couple of weeks it's been. What an incredible month we have had. Since January when the president took office till now, I have just been blown away by this man's actions. Incredible stuff we're witnessing. And we're going to be talking about some of that stuff towards the end of the show, a little bit later. But first, I got a really special guest for you. I've been doing an interview on a particular issue, and that's the Elliott Forest. And I've been doing these interviews with different people. And one of the people that I have on a pretty regular basis is Dr. Bob Zybach. And I'm going to get him back on here again in just a few minutes, because I did interview him last Monday after last Monday's show, and it worked out quite well because there's a conference happening in Eugene, the Loggers Conference, and I hope to show up to that event and maybe get some interviews. But the Elliott Forest is very important to Douglas County and Coos County because it's right in the heart of our counties, and we really could be making the state could be making a lot of money off of that property, and we're not utilizing it for the natural resources that are up there. And part of the reason is now they're going to turn it into a mitigation forest, where they do those carbon credits, which is nothing but a scam. This is nothing but a green scam. And because this is a state forest, the federal government really has no say over it. But it's very frustrating because what we're going through on several different issues here in the county, one of them being the urban growth boundary and the housing problem, the housing shortage that we have. I believe that is being caused by the Department of Land Conservation and Development. We have centralized land planning here in Oregon, and people wanted this many years ago. This was something that was instituted in Oregon. I don't know how many years back, but it's basically centralized planning and zoning for a state, where the state decides for all of the counties the land, how they will use their land. And it's a really bad policy. In fact, we're rated, I believe, number 49th as far as freedom with our land use laws. And so we need to change those. And part of that is the arbitrary rules that are created with these land use laws. And one of them is the urban growth boundary. And so we'll be talking more about that on the other side of this. But it also affects the Elliott Forest, the habitat conservation plans that the Forestry Department passes. All of that regulation contributes to all the regulations that rule over our lands. And if we got rid of a lot of these land use laws and restrictions, we'd be doing so much better in this state. So that's why I try to keep up on the Elliott Forest, because I think it's going to be a huge boondoggle. And in 20 years, 30 years, I think that we're going to probably have some large forest fires in the next decade, couple of decades. that are going to happen in the Elliott Forest. And this isn't something that nobody should be surprised about, because it has happened before in the Elliott Forest. And they have had major wildfires, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. There is no doubt about it. And we used to have a prison up there, Shutter Creek Prison. And the people in the prison, the prisoners, would used to be trained when that facility was open. And of course, Governor Brown, Flusher Down Brown, as we like to call her, she closed a lot of those facilities. She closed a lot of mental facilities, which also contributed to, well, the homeless problem. If you're not keeping criminals in jail, and these criminals were homeless to begin with, then you're just setting them back out on the streets, and just the same with the mentally ill. So we've got a situation where we had a prison up in the Elliott Forest, and the prisoners could have defended the surrounding areas from any wildfire that occurred in that forest. It was a beautiful plan. I mean, you could use it for conservation. You can use it for recreation. You can use it for the timber up there. And all of those things can happen. Indian heritage. There's a lot of Indian heritage up there. And I think we need to preserve some of these things as well as utilize them. You know, and when I say preserve, I don't mean in the same way that a lefty liberal talks about preserving things. When they talk about preserving things, they just mean, you know, let it go to the way it was before humans ever existed. And when I mean preserve it, is keep it where people can actually see where Indian heritage had taken place up in the Elliott Forest. They have trails up there that Indians have been wandering for hundreds, possibly 1,000 years. They wandered around in some of those trails, and the roads up there actually followed the trails, according to some of the experts who monitor the Elliott Forest. So I'm going to present to you the third installment, part 3 of the saga of the Elliott Forest right now. And this is my interview with Dr. Bob Zybach, and I hope you enjoy it. And we'll have him back on again, and hopefully I'll get more interviews from that logging conference. But I want to play this for you. Hello, everybody. I want to thank you for joining me today on the Rob Taylor Report. I've got a special interview that I'm doing here with a gentleman who I would say is one of the foremost experts on the Elliott Forest. And it's more than just an educational feat. It's a lifelong mission, from what I've been able to tell. And this gentleman has been absolutely phenomenal in the work he's done and the dedication he has had to this one specific area, the Elliott Forest. His name is Bob Zybach. He is an author of the Elliott, an anthology. He wrote the book on the Elliott. He is a 6th-generation Oregonian, and he earned a PhD in environmental science with an emphasis on wildfires from the Oregon State University. And I'll have to ask him about this, because I didn't realize there was a class that emphasized wildfires and educating a college education on wildfires. So I'm going to have to ask him about that. So joining me right now is Dr. Bob Zybach. Bob, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Rob. Good to hear from you.
It's good to hear from you. How do you go about getting a degree in wildfires? That's an actual degree, I take it.
Well, no, the degrees in environmental sciences, my research focus was Coast Range fire history, which I started in the late 1980s, and that's where I first became introduced to Jerry Phillips and the Elliott State Forest. But it's independent study, so my focus was independent of any classrooms. I did take a few classes on fire ecology. A few classes were offered here and there, usually special interest classes, but the research was all independent.
That would explain why I saw your name come up a few times when they were talking about the California fire disaster that just recently happened. and you were mentioned in a couple of different articles, and I was like, oh, I know that guy. I actually had him on the show. This is really cool. And tell me, what was your relationship with some of the people in California and the wildfires there? Because I guess you have a history with that.
Well, my formal history started about 2008 or 2010 when I was invited to give a presentation on wildfire and forest restoration, which is my actual professional background. So the Redding Group was forming. They were mostly retired Forest Service people that were very concerned about the increase in wildfires, especially since the Spotted Owl Northwest Plan had gone into place. They recognized that I'd been recognizing and speaking about that risk. And then as the fires began occurring in the wildfire community, I'm recognized as an expert because there's not very many of us, for one. And like the Elliott, most of my mentors were older than me, and they're no longer with us. So it's I'm an expert by attrition. But in 2010, we had another conference. Then in 2016, they organized as a national wildfire institute. They were based kind of in Redding, but they had people in Montana, New Jersey, Idaho, experts involved. And so with the recent fires, we've been getting more involved. And my concern and focus has been on the towns that are being burnt up or burnt into by Forest Service mismanagement of the adjacent forests. It's maybe 40 towns in 20 different counties in the last 10 years, as opposed to maybe 5 or 6 towns total for 100 years preceding that. So the increase in burned towns and wildfires has been dramatic since 1990, and particularly in the last 10 years, since 2015. So that concern has involved lots of meetings, lots of presentations, lots of discussions, but most of us have been avoided because our position is practical management, jobs, wildfire mitigation, and theirs is, this is a big business. The taxpayers are paying us a lot of money for us to box in these fires and watch them burn. We don't want to let it go. So we're being opposed basically by government more than anything.
It's, you say that and people might go, oh no, there's no way our government would be allowing this to occur. But yet I've talked to firemen who are from, who have fought in different forest fires over the last decade or several decades plus. And they have all said the same thing. They went from taking on the fires and taking out the fires to now just letting it burn is the policy. And the reason they're doing it is because they make good grants from the federal and state governments. It's almost like it's a business, forest fires.
It is a business, a multi-billion-dollar business, and it's all funded by taxpayers. And when we didn't have fires, we had one major fire in Western Oregon in 35 years, between the Vincent fire in 52 and the Silver Complex in 87. We had the Oxbow fire, 40,000 acres. That was it. And we burned up 25 times that much land on 2 days on the Labor Day fires of 2020. So at that time, when we were first putting in these proposals or concerns, predictions, that's what I was looking for. People at first were not paying attention. And then when the fires started happening for the next 15 years, they kept the racket going by saying, this is global warming. But right. You see all the sawmills shut down. You see the reforestation businesses replaced with illegal alien labor on the national forest 40 years ago. And this is all predictable. The sawmills shut down. And of course, that's where my interest on the Elliott is, but it's not limited to that. It's the West Coast, the Douglas fir region, Northern California, Western Oregon, and the Elliott is just one striking example of government intervention. And to make one point, going against the government, most of the people I'm affiliated with are retired government workers. They have experienced this change, and they've been very cognizant that it's going to result in wildfires, unemployment, pollution, and millions of dead wildlife. Just the opposite of what we were promised by the environmental community when in the early 90s.
Let me ask you, how is it different? What's the difference between wildfire predictions and climate change predictions? What is it, because we get both of those. What's the difference in the way they come about, these two different types of predictions?
It's a real blatant difference. The climate predictions are based entirely on modeling. So we have government modelers that are making the predictions. I think they were predicting 400-year-old trees and happy grandchildren bouncing around, claiming the spotted owl crap off the windshield. It was just going to be a wonderful world. And people like me were making predictions based on scientific method, not computer printouts. And it was based entirely on management policy. So when they changed their policy, the predictions started being made by me and others. And what happened is most of the professional foresters that worked for the Forest Service that were really concerned about the direction it was taking retired or found other employment. The Forest Service has been entirely transformed from professional foresters in the 70s and 80s that were doing really good work and benefiting the local communities to a bunch of work from home bureaucrats doing modeling, calling it science. And the difference is that the scientific predictions that I've made have been accurate, and the modeling predictions made by the global warming people for the last 30 years have been totally inaccurate. Nothing to do with wildfires.
Which kind of is strange, because the big thing now, and I think it's once again based on the money and the grants that come in, is they're preparing everyone here on the coast for the tsunami, the great tsunami that's going to hit sometime, guaranteed. They promise, they put up sirens and everything else. And yet when it comes to forest fires and fire prevention, it seems like that's put on the back seat. And every time I remind these people that the town of Bandon wasn't destroyed by a tsunami twice. The town of Bandon was destroyed by fires twice within the last century. So I'm not sure why we focus on some things and not others. And I would ask you, if you were in my position, would you want the government of my area to focus on the tsunamis or the forest fires?
I think both. The last bad tsunami was in 1700. It's probably due at any time, and it was probably killed thousands of people. And we still got evidence in the seaside cliffs and so on. It's a once every 300 or 500 or 1,000-year event. But it's something to be aware of that is going to occur at some point. But the wildfires are the clear and present and imminent danger. And what they're doing with the Elliott is increasing that wildfire risk month by month, but with every action they're taking to let those fuels build up. The Elliott has an historical record within the time of people watching it and writing about it of 2 major wildfires since 1850. And then my research has shown about 11 or 12 major wildfires in the last 500 years. So it could burn at any time. That's an east wind event. We have those every year. The wildfires occur on the coast maybe every 50 or 100 years for the really bad ones on an average. But like we can see, we can have real bad ones year after year for several years in a row, and then maybe go 50 or 75 years without one. But what they're doing is really bad forest management, and they're doing it for carbon credits. So we're dealing with a handful of elitists that put 400 loggers out of work and cost our schools hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're getting away with it.
And I want to emphasize what you just said. Hundreds of millions of dollars literally every year is being pulled out of our school funding. And on top of that, 400 jobs of people who could be providing income taxes to our state as well for all the other services that we need, as well as fighting the forest fires. Before we get in any further, I have to ask you, going back to the California thing, do you think, because you probably have had some correspondence with people out there, do you think the government is going to change? And you think the people are going to make them, or do you think it's just going to be swept under the rug again and business as usual?
Well, two things. One is millions a year, but it's hundreds of millions over time for the schools. It's not hundreds of millions every year from just the Elliott. Now, for the entire state, it's probably in the hundreds of millions range because of all the HCPs on the private land and the other state lands and so on. The cumulative effects have been devastating. Billions of dollars of tax losses rather than hundreds of millions of tax income. As far as making political predictions, I've got a record of being close to 0% accurate. I thought with the Biscuit fire in 2002, I thought this will do it. Then we had the San Diego fires in 2005, and I said, oh, now the city kids are involved. They'll understand what's going on. And then we had the fires of 2015, 2017. Then we have the Labor Day fires of 2020, Northern California, Eastern Washington, Western Oregon, devastated, dozens of people killed. And I thought, now they cannot ignore this any longer. And then they ignored it longer. So I would think now with the new administration and some of the efforts being made in Northern California and in Oregon by Henri with Jen Hammaker and others, I think that we've got some blue sky for the first time since the Clinton plan. We've got an opportunity to get some common sense into the management of our lands and start paying taxes instead of collecting taxes to watch our forests burn.
Oh, and I couldn't agree more. And coming here from the Southwest, where it's mostly desert, anyone who drive over the hill and see all this beautiful green that spreads out as far as the eye can see, you would think just by accident, Oregon should be the wealthiest damn state in the entire nation. And it's like we're doing everything we can to drive ourselves or keep ourselves in poverty. I've never understood the mindset here. And as you said, to make any prediction on something that's so irrational that should be so easy to see, yeah, it's impossible to say. And I just thought maybe you might have had some insight after dealing with this, because they're not changing here in Oregon anytime soon, it looks like.
Well, I think part of my insight is I'm guessing you moved here since 1990.
No, I moved here in 2003.
That's after 1990, so that my prediction was accurate. It was way different. Two things have turned me into an angry old man. I was an old man, and then I was kind of irritated and kind of mystified and kind of disturbed a little bit. But the Labor Day fires hit, and I got exasperated. And then I looked at the U.S. government and ODF bragging about all the reforestation and restoration work they were doing, and it was crap. And it was way overpriced, and it's really bad. And now we've got a worse fire trap than it ever happened before. So when Kotek said Oregon values are abortion drugs and sanctuary cities, that pissed me off. Oregon values are hard work, honesty, no umbrellas. And that's it. This all changed with the spotted owl and federal policies, Northwest Forest Plan, when they started putting federal government controls and regulations on our forests. Now we're importing wood from Canada, and that is literally coals to Newcastle. That is just stupid. But we're doing it. We've been doing it.
Well, like you said, hopefully the new administration will be able to put some kind of pressure on Oregon and California using the purse string, because we get a lot of money from the feds, an exorbitant amount of money. And you would think that they would be able to say, look, you've got some problems here, but I could see the state turning back at the feds going, well, you haven't managed your lands any better, so who are you to be giving us advice? So you know what I mean? They always seem to be pointing fingers at each other, but I would hope the administration would want to do something, and I don't know about giving the land back to the states, the Fed land. I would like to see it maybe go back to the counties, but I don't think the state would do any better than what the feds are. And it's not like the feds are doing a great job.
Well, the feds are doing a terrible job, and they have about half the state. So federal policy is state policy. That's where a lot of sawmills and reforestation businesses, road construction, school money, police forces, county politics used to be paid for. We used to pay hundreds of millions into the federal treasury and into the state treasury. We did not collect welfare monies for supporting people on the sidewalk or watching our forest burn. This has all been a transitional thing that I've observed and documented, along with other old people that are shocked at how long this has been able to continue, because things used to be significantly different.
Yes, yeah, and that's what I was always told. Anytime I talk to the old timers and we talk about the old days, Reedsport, and we'll be talking about the logging conference that's coming up. But in Reedsport, not Reedsport, Roseburg used to be the logging capital of the world, and that's just mind-boggling. That little old Reedsport was and Coos Bay was one of the largest shipping ports of timber. It was just absolutely incredible. And you look at these old pictures, you can go into some of the bars or some of the pizza joints, and they've got these huge pictures on the wall where these, I don't know if they're little bitty guys or if those trees are just really big trees, but it's amazing what we used to do here in our county. And it blows me away at what we're doing now.
They were shipping lumber out of Coos Bay in the 1850s and rebuilding part of San Francisco and California, shipping down to San Diego. And people were doing very well. We had new schools, new parks in the 70s and 80s after World War II. Oregon lumber rebuilt a lot of the new homes and things for returning servicemen, and that provided jobs for 2 generations of people. We still have the big trees around, but now that they've got new policies, then they say in the last 25 years, the government says maybe the last 20 years, something like 9,000 acres of old growth have been logged off. About 180,000 acres of old growth have been lost to insects and disease, and 700,000 acres of old growth have been lost to wildfire. That's since the new policies have gone into place. We're burning up our forests. We're not salvaging them. And after a forest burns, after all the trees die, there's 10 times as much firewood, flammable material out there than before. You start with a green tree full of water, you kill it, and now you've got a air-dried tube of firewood, massive, filled with pitch. And so the reburns, like the Tillamook burn was the example, Kalmiopsis wilderness, more recent, of what happens, the danger in not salvaging the material or restoring the landscape to an earlier condition. So it's just gross mismanagement, really bad research. They've been using computers and bureaucrats and work from home foresters for too long. And we're way past due for a change, and the Elliott is the best opportunity at this point.
And I know that, once again, this is like the people they hear what you're saying, but they may not believe it. You know, you're talking about these bureaucrats that work from home. When we were doing the windmill, when we were fighting against the windmill turbines that they were trying to put in, and luckily the new president has stopped that nonsense. One of the ladies who was in charge of identifying the species who might be impacted by the wind turbines, she came in and we asked her, well, how many times do you go down on the boat? Oh, I've never been out on a boat in the ocean. Well, how do you know about the sea animals? And she picked up her laptop. She goes, oh, I work from home using my laptop to go anywhere in the world. And I felt like saying, ma'am, that's not a spaceship. It's not a time machine. It's not taking you places. You're looking at a screen and mostly getting fed what people are telling you is the sad part. And it's not what's happening in the ocean by any stretch of the imagination. And so it is true when you say that.
Well, it is true. It used to be in you go out in a national forest and you would find foresters out there, and they'd have the Forest Service trucks out there, and they'd be working, doing things. Mm-hmm. The last 10 years, I go into a Forest Service office and nobody's there, or 3 people are there, and they're not foresters. And you ask simple questions and they can't answer it. Or they wait 5 days and they give you a written response that's just stupid. I mean, it's like they haven't even read the literature, and they are the people that we are paying to manage our forests. They call them ologists, a lot of people do, but they visit occasionally, maybe to check a plot or to give a tour to some school kids. Maybe. I haven't seen that, but I'm assuming that sometimes they drive those trucks out in the woods. They just disappeared.
That's a good question, because they do have an awful lot of vehicles. I see them all the time driving up and down 101.
Yep, and park.
And I do ask myself, I wonder, are they actually up doing anything? And this is a picture of the Elliott here. I'm not even sure where it was. I just happened to grab this from one of the websites. And this one here, you'll be very familiar with that. This is after one of the fires.
Mm-hmm. The first one is the road leading into this. It's a fishing spot that we took the kids, and we took a lot of posed pictures there. The second one was the Gould family homestead. It was established about 1884. George Gould was just a wonderful, amazing person. He had a photography studio there. He had he built all the houses. They got a sawmill there. So they sawed up. They had the kids attend the school. They had a schoolhouse there for their family, 7 kids. So, but they came in there after the 1879 fire. So 1884, and you can see the trees in the background there. Some of them are pretty big, but it's mostly second growth. And it was the second fire. There was a fire in 1868, another one in 1770, and so on, going back to the 1600s. We can tell pretty easily by tree rings. This is over the hill from the Gould residence, and this formed what they called Gould Lake, and it was a massive landslide about 1894. They heard it in the family, and then took pictures of it, but it slid down the hill and formed a lake that was good fishing for a lot of years, but now that's mostly sedimented in. But it shows you how dynamic the landscape is for all the people that want to have riparian zones and critical habitat for marble murrelets and stuff. They need to look at pictures like this. This is an example. This is normal. Landslides, wildfires. To say that critical old growth habitat is necessary to save a bird that lives in Alaska to continue breeding off the Oregon coast or something, there's not polite words for it. It's stupid. Right. And the reason it's stupid is not so much that these people don't know what they're talking about. It's stupid because we're listening to them, and we're letting them take control of our forests, which are burning up. Our businesses are going out of business. Our schools are running out of money. We got people living on the sidewalks, and they're telling us that this is critical habitat for a bird that lives in Alaska, or an owl that doesn't live there anymore. But they say, well, it used to live here, so we need to keep regulating the land. It's
what year did you say this was?
This is 1894. The burn was 1879.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine the guy who got the camera up there to take that picture? Because, that wasn't just an easy Polaroid shot there. That took a lot of work.
It was George Gould, and that's why we have such a good record from there. He had a camera in the 1880s and set up his own photography studio and took pictures of deer they killed, fish they caught, landslides, the ranch from different angles. So this was George Gould with a camera in 1894, and he went back over the hill and developed the film at his studio.
That's badass. That is bad. Anyone who knows anything about photography should know that that's an incredible feat. Now here's the chart. And I had this last time and we went over this, and I don't think people understand the wealth that's sitting up there in this state forest. I will go ahead and let you explain this one. And I'm going to make it full screen so everyone can see it.
Okay. The vertical red line goes through 1990, and the small print up on top, that's the period that Jerry Phillips was managing the forest and working on the forest from 1950. And then the big spike on the left was the 1962 Columbus Day storm that blew down 100 million feet of 70-year-old timber. So the green line is about how much timber the Elliott grows every year. The yellow line is the 1988 cut schedule of 50 million feet a year. And so the 1988 plan said we're going to cut this many feet a year. It's less than what's growing out there, so it's sustainable. And that's what produces 400 jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars over time to the schools. And then to the right of the red line, all those little dots and asterisks and the decreasing numbers, those are timber harvests after 1990. And those numbers designate HCPs, endangered species classifications, and the final where it just drops down to nothing. The latest environmental lawsuit to stop logging on the Elliott. So you can see that it went from averaging 50 million feet a year when it was young second growth, growing 100 or 75 million feet a year and producing about 100 or 200 million in losses every year since the environmentalists took over.
And the looks of it, it's I imagine there's a lot of trees up there to be harvested at this point. A huge amount of trees.
There's 40,000 acres of reforestation. Those trees started getting planted 50 years ago. They are commercial size, and Douglas fir plantations are anti-biodiversity. So when they say they want more biodiversity, they've either got to go back like the Indians had it, lots of open prairies and ridgelines and meadows and riparian areas, or they've got to do it like the loggers are doing it, creating clear cuts that create browse for bear and deer and birds and butterflies and wildflowers. But the plantations are not native. They will not turn into critical habitat for anything. They will most likely have a canopy fire if they're not managed. So, well, let's see. This is timber volumes. Yep, that shows the same thing as the graph. That fires are killing far more than logging, and now it's nothing. It's just they're called carbon credits. My God, they've been trying for 6 or 7 years. There's 2 or 3 people that are engineering that, and it's an anti-job, anti-income, anti-wildfire mitigation, anti-wildlife policy.
Can you quickly explain a carbon credit for anyone who's not sure what one is?
It goes back to the word stupid. It's somehow people have been able to convince the rest of us that if you don't cut the trees, they will store carbon, and then that way we will regulate the temperature of the world. Anybody that thinks that's even remotely possible is an idiot. But there's hundreds of millions of us voting it in. We're not idiots. We've just been misled, and we're ignorant. So these are really, really, really bad policies that should have been ended 20 years ago when it became obvious they were failing economically, failing biologically. And now recent information is wildfire smoke is killing about 10,000 Americans a year. Most of them live in cities. So that we didn't know that in the 1990s. We were just saying wildfires and unemployment and salvage. And then when they didn't even salvage it, now it's turning out that we're also talking about thousands of deaths due to smoke.
And that's, and we're continuing with the policy, and we're not getting any smarter. And what's sad, Dr. Zybach, is that guys like you, guys like me, even I'm near 60, we're hitting the point where, you know, there may not be too many of us around, and they have really filled these 50, 40, and 30-year-olds full of this fluff that somehow man has changed the environment and somehow man can control the environment. And I often think, you know, when Mother Earth gets tired of man, she's going to rear back up and kick us off when she wants to get rid of us. And why we think that we have anything to do with any of that is just beyond me.
Managing a forest in Western Oregon, the analogy I use, and I probably use it on your program, managing it for carbon is identical to managing the ocean for salt. It doesn't pencil out. It's stupid. And you ask these people, why are you doing this? And well, we don't want to rape the earth. Well, okay, fine. You're living in a wooden house, but why are you doing this? Oh, we're saving a salmon. No, you're not. Oh, right. Well, we're saving a bird. No, you're not. The birds are moving away. Oh, we're regulating the temperature of the earth. It's 70% water. A lot of it's above the Arctic. The forested area of the earth, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's not very much, 5 or 10%. And the Elliott is a a tick on a giant hog. It's nothing. And to think that we can stop logging in order to change the climate of the earth at a cost of hundreds of millions of dollars and 400 jobs and increasing wildfire risk, that just keeps coming back. It's anybody that's pushing that is either totally dishonest or they're stupid. Why would they be repeating stuff they don't know about and that they're totally wrong about? You're 60, I'm 76, and the problem is exactly what you're saying. That most of the experts, most of the people that used to manage the lands and the wildfires expertly aren't with us any longer. We just did a video of National Wildfire Institute with 14 individuals. I'm among the youngest. The oldest is 94 and 90-year-old. And these guys were forest supervisors, head of wildfire for the Western United States. They worked out of DC. These people were the experts. Nobody listens to them either, but we just put out a video. We got 2.5 hours of recordings with 15 experts. We turned it into a 37-minute video. Everything, the entire interviews, 2.5 hours, have been transcribed. And we are just now, this was all being done as we're speaking. We're just now distributing the video to some key legislators in DC and also Salem.
Oh, that is great. That is beautiful, because we need that brain trust. We need that information to get going to where the people are. And this is the sign you're getting older. You've got a vice president that's nearly half your age. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what you know what I mean? It's like you start looking at these guys going, oh, we got kids running the country, damn it. And but seriously though, we need that type of information going to these younger folks. And I'm hoping there's going to be a generation coming out, hopefully soon. Hopefully, maybe it's already here. Maybe there's 15 and unders, and they're going to get a brain cell going there, and it's going to go back. I'm really hoping. I know you talked about it, working with a lot of college kids, that you have seen some of it, that there is some bright hope. So I don't know.
Well, it just takes one. We got Doge, and I'm hopeful that they look at forestry, because we are wasting so many billions of dollars and wasting so many lives and missing so many opportunities. We should be pumping money into the federal treasury. We should be having nice roads that old people and young people can travel, and well-maintained trails. And we should have safe forests that aren't killing our wildlife, aren't entering our towns. And we used to have that. We've got the photographs and the videos, and these older folks, I'm just really glad that a woman named Dana Tibbetts, a writer down in Lake Tahoe, was able to herd cats and get us all us old guys together and gather our concerns and thoughts and coordinate those concerns and thoughts and recommendations going forward. So now we've got a good, solid document based on real experience, real knowledge, and real concern.
That's in, like, yeah, I was saying that's the best thing we can do is hopefully keep spreading that knowledge and keep staying active as we can. I do know that you're going to be presenting a resolution at the 2025 Oregon Logging Conference. That's the one in Roseburg, right?
It's in Eugene.
It's in Eugene. Oh, I thought it was in Roseburg. Okay, sorry. It's in Eugene, and this is the 87th logging conference. Man, that's been going on for a while.
Yeah. They asked me to give a keynote address there 29 years ago, and I gave it on the Spotted Owl Plan, and I pointed out how documented history contradicted the proposals they were making, and if they did it, they're going to have massive wildfires, just like happened. And then I never got invited back until now. But now it's focused on the Elliott and this carbon credit thing. And as soon as this came out, now you'll see the state today sent out and said, oh, wait a minute, we want to make more regulations and really tie this up and make it really difficult to unwind the mess we've created here. And so hopefully at the Loggers Conference, we can light a little fire under them and get them to understand who the key players are, what the problems are, and take some immediate action to get us back into managing our lands, rather than having the Canadians send us timber and the Australians send us wildfires,
Right.
especially.
Right, absolutely. And I didn't want to read through all the whereas, but I'll get to the therefore be it resolved. This is from your resolution. It says that the Oregon Logging Conference calls for the immediate suspension of all plans and expenditures regarding possible carbon credit sales on the Elliott State Forest, that all 550 miles of historic Elliott roads be maintained for public, recreational, research, educational, and forest management access. The Elliott Forest management return immediately to 1989 harvest levels of a minimum 50 million board feet in sales per year until updated plans can be developed, and that net proceeds go directly to Oregon public K-12 schools as intended in 1859 and 1930 and continued until 2017 when the Oregon the school sharing fund or the school common school fund used to actually receive that money.
Yeah, it's hopefully people are paying attention now. These are the main things we've been saying for 20 years, but there's a new a climate. Like I say, it's the first time I've been invited back in 29 years.
Yeah.
So people are starting to pay attention that, hey, wait a minute, these older people's predictions are accurate, coming true. They warned us. We didn't listen. Now we've got this burning wildfire mess. We've got all these shut down sawmills. We got people living on the sidewalks. We got dead wildlife, and we got smoky air. Maybe we should give them a listen. And that is just now happening with, I think the election had a lot to do with it. It's all politics. It's not science.
Common sense. They said we're ready for some common sense. That's what I'm really hoping for. The Oregon legislature is in session. You were mentioning somewhat of the legislation or them trying to tie up the Elliott Forest, the deal that they have. Is there any good legislation or bad legislation that you want to warn people about?
I know nothing about legislation. I know about management and reforestation and wildfires. And if it's an HB 1522 or whatever the heck, and it's got a bunch of language that lawyers have tortured over, and now they've got people voting on it and all that. I learned a long time ago that, in fact, politically in 1980, I was an Oregon delegate to the Libertarian National Convention, and my proposal or my concern was a privatization of federal lands because I was afraid of what would happen as what happened. When I went there, though, everybody was talking about discontinuing the penny. They were all into economics. And so I didn't change my affiliation, but I didn't vote for 40 years until 1920 or 2020. And I voted against Biden. So there's an older person that is a good example of why I think daylight's running out and trying to get things done. It's like that is total embarrassment. And then this past year, Dick Corder and Jen Hamaker put together a resolution for the Republican Party, and they mentioned in there that privatization of the federal lands, and I would love to see county control. And it used to be county control. It was county people, local people that managed the forest. They just worked for the National Forest, and they were working with local loggers and local sawmill workers and local reforestation businesses. But so I registered as a Republican for the first time in my life and voted Republican ticket for the first time ever. So it's just the movement towards common sense, smaller government, better resource management. And like I say, I hope the Doge people start looking at forestry really quick, because there's a lot of unnecessary waste and a lot of resources that should be used to rebuild homes in California, provide jobs in Oregon, put money into our schools like it used to be.
That's what blows my mind. It would be one thing if they weren't utilizing it, but now it's costing us not to utilize it. So we're getting tagged on both ends. I was just curious, since you were in the Libertarian Party back in 1980, did you know Tony Nathan?
I met her. She was from Eugene. But not personally or anything. She's at the convention. She was a big libertarian. I think she's the first woman vice president nominee in
First female vice presidential nominee, yes.
Identity Politics back in 1980.
Back in 1980, yeah. It's I was just curious. She's an old friend of mine, and I haven't seen her in many. She passed away not too long ago, and yeah, it's I'm glad to hear that, because it's hearing your political history makes me respect your political history a lot more, because there's a lot not there, and that's a good thing, because that's the problem with a lot of people. They get messed up in the politics of it, and politics is just the opposite of science. You know what I mean? It's emotional, it's irrational, it's you're playing on emotions. It's a strange animal, and for scientists, and I've known this because I've had people who are in did very very studied sciences come on the show, and to talk about politics, they're just like you, don't even care. It's like trying to rationalize the irrational. So that's
the problem with science is it's totally been politicized. I watched it happen at Oregon State in the 1990s. When they openly say consensus science, like that's a real thing, that's voting. That's 100% politics. That's the opposite of science. When you challenge their opinions of the agency scientists, I'm putting quotes around it, and the university researchers, they're selling global warming. They're selling popular fear. They're just like medieval priests. It's like, give us your money or your forest will burn. They're telling us that it'll do it before we're dead, but it's the same process. They're selling fear and they're calling it science. And that's been one of my real concerns is we politicize science. And we've got two generations now of scholars that think if they learned modeling in school and learned some kind of theory that the universe or the world was like a terrarium where you could just regulate the temperature with some minor changes in vegetation composition or some crap.
right.
It's disgusting. And so most people that are actual scientists that I know are dead. They're old. And a younger generation I'm not seeing it. This doesn't seem to be coming up, but a younger generation of politicians and engineers. Engineers need modeling. Modeling is an engineer tool. It's really important. It's a scientific tool as well, but it is not science. It can't predict the future any better than a medieval monk could predict the future. It's just, the technical word is bullshit. You just get really tired of all the nonsense they spew out. 2, 3, 4 minutes, right away they don't know what they're talking about. And then they think you're being arrogant for just not being involved, or that you're not being a good citizen because you're not listening to their spiel.
Right.
And it's a real problem. Is that science is a way of learning things. It's not a voting process, and it's not a computer predicts the future and tells you what your riparian zone is going to be like for the next 40 years.
I'm bad at science. I'm better at politics. So if science was politics, then I could come to a consensus on an issue. I think I could prove ice cream is actually good for you if we get enough people in and do it through consensus. I'm sure I can do that. I'm a good convincer. It's I can persuade. I have the power of persuasion sometimes. But you're right. It doesn't matter one iota if it doesn't meet the scientific merits, and it kills me. Is there anything, before I get you out of here, is there anything you want to tell us, anything updating that you want to talk about?
Well, I will say that this isn't a new phenomenon. When I was younger, and maybe up into your lifetime, they had doctors telling us that cigarette smoking was good. And then within the last couple of years, we've had Dr. Fauci saying, I am science. So I think the main thing we need to do is to really look at what these people are saying, whether it's carbon credits or consensus science or global warming, and just say, get Doge on them and knock off their funding, because it's all taxpayers and all voters that are making this possible.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I want to thank you for being on, and we'll get you back again. Okay.
Sounds good. Good seeing you again.
All right. And there you go. That was my interview with Dr. Bob Zybach. What a great guy. I didn't know he was a libertarian. I have a lot of respect for that man. And now that I know more about him, I have even more respect. He's an incredible person. And like I said, I'm going to be going to the timber conference in Eugene. I'm going to try to get up there and get some interviews. I kept saying Reedsport. Roseburg was the lumber capital. And I don't know why I always transpose those names for those cities, but Roseburg was the timber capital, the lumber capital of the world at one time. And like I said, Oregon should be rich just by mistake. I don't know how we are not one of the wealthiest states in the union just by the sheer amount of natural resources that we have. And we could maintain that beauty, have conservation to bring in tourism, and people want to come here. People want to come here, even though we're a very leftist, liberal state. People love coming here because not of the politics of that big, beautiful blue ocean to the west of us. And so that's why they come here. The forest, the mountains, the state itself is just an incredible state. That's when I moved here, I was just impressed, awed by the natural beauty of this place. And to know that we have all these natural resources, and not only are we not using them, we're allowing them to be destroyed and not benefiting from anything other than allowing them to be destroyed and not fixing the problem. We're not curing the problem. We're allowing the burning of our forests, which is destroying more than logging can ever do. It's putting a whole bunch of carbon into the air, and we're now literally making that a business. Fires are business now. So every year, because it seems to be happening every year, every couple of years, when you're sitting there in July and August and the sun is orange and there's smoke in the air and you can't go outside, it's because of a business structure that has created this situation. And don't be fooled, because the people who are doing this call themselves environmentalists. They're not environmentalists. They are ideologues, and they pray to the climate change religion. It's very much like wokeism that's going on. But I want to change the wheels here, change the gears, because there's a lot of things that are going on around the state that we have to talk about. And well, I guess we don't have to, but it would be a good idea if we did. And I'm going to set up a screen share here and see if I can get this story up. This just came out, and this is talking about the dramatic increase in school spending have not improved outcomes for Oregon schools. Now, this was a study done in another state. I'm not sure which organization did this. Maybe you'll say down in the article a little bit. I just saw this today, and I thought it was very important to talk about because it ties in with the Elliott Forest. The Elliott Forest used to fund our common school fund, which loses a lot of money now because of the HCPs. They lose a lot of money because of urban renewal. They lose money because of the enterprise zones. There's a lot of economic scams and environmental scams that are taking a lot of money out of our schools. So I don't know, what they were looking at when they did this study, but I'm going to read a little bit from this article because it's in the news and it's important. But it says a dramatic increase in school spending have not improved outcomes in Oregon students. Spending more on education does not automatically fix underlying problems, says an education finance expert. Instead, the spending has to be intentional. And doesn't that sound about right with what's going on the federal level? It sounds like they're just wasting money hands over fist. But the article continues. It says, and then, by the way, this is from Willamette Week, the newspaper, and they do a lot of really good stories. They do a lot of investigation pieces. So I thought this was good. And it says students in Oregon saw their reading and math scores decline over a decade when the state spending on schools rose by 80%. An analysis by Georgetown University shows. So yeah, it was from another state. And the data presented to the state legislature's Joint Ways and Means Subcommittee on Education January 28th showed that increased spending from 2013 to 2023 correlated with lower student performance on the Oregon statewide assessment. The increase in spending, education finance researchers concluded, did not correlate with improvements in performance for any student group. Well, gee, gosh, we've been saying that for a long time. You don't need to throw more money at this. There are ways to make the school better. Right here it says it's no secret that Oregon students saw academic achievement slump dramatically and never recover during the and after the COVID-19 pandemic. A study of 30 states by Harvard and Stanford universities on learning rebounds from the pandemic released in early 2024 showed Oregon students were the only group that has failed to return to pre-pandemic levels in either reading or math scales. You know what that says to me? Well, first off, it says, what the hell am I paying all these damn taxes to the school districts if they're not teaching our kids how to be educated, how to read and write and do arithmetic? Why are we doing this? It's insanity. We keep banging our head against the wall and expecting the same results. And I was sitting there at the urban renewal meeting that happened last week, where the North Bend School District shot down the North Bend City over their urban renewal proposal. And during the meeting, there were other things that were being discussed on the agenda. And one gentleman got up and was talking about how there were kids that he was trying to hire who couldn't write in cursive. They couldn't sign their name in cursive, which is exactly what I have been echoing for years. I have had young men. It's usually young men. I haven't seen a young woman yet who hasn't been able to write cursive, but usually it's young men who will come up to the booth, the petition booth, to sign a petition, and they don't know how to sign their signature. Now, this is very important because in our historic records in this country, our documents were written in cursive. And if you create a generation or two generations, maybe three, that cannot read cursive, how are they going to know what we are telling them is fact if they don't know how to read this writing themselves? This is almost a national danger. This comes to national security. And I know people go, "Oh, wow, Rob, you're talking about cursive writing." No. I'm serious. This is a national security issue, because why would they want to eliminate one of the most beautiful forms of communication and not teach it to our students? So I was watching this at the meeting, and I have sat through other school board meetings, and one of the big problems is that they cannot get rid of a lot of these problem students. They will have students that are disruptive in the classroom, disrupting the other kids' ability to learn, and the teacher, the principals, they don't have any way of correcting that child, and they have to keep the child in the classroom. And I think that's absolutely absurd. We need to find a way to correct the children and get them back to learning. And another thing is we need to get all of this DEI woke crap out of the schools. We should not be talking about their sexuality, their sexual preferences, any of their sexual fantasies. All of that needs to be eliminated from the curriculums. It needs to be DEI. All the other bullshit needs to be ripped out of these school districts. And we need to put in common sense, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Go back to the basics, because the Oregon School Board, the Oregon school system in Oregon has failed, and it's because they have failed on the basics. So get rid of all the other garbage that they have stuffed in here, all the other ideological, political bullshit that they have shoved down our children's throat. If we could get rid of that in Oregon, we wouldn't need another dime, not one single dime more for our children. And that's, we have to be very aware of this, because the school boards are making huge decisions on a lot of funding. I mean, the school board, like I said, was voting on urban renewal. $35 million of new debt is what was going to be created if they voted for that urban renewal proposal. They stopped that. It was the first time I've ever seen a school board stop that. And we need to educate people who are running for these positions on other districts, because it's not just the school board that suffers from these types of economic development schemes. A lot of other districts suffer as well. So if you don't even know anything about a fire district, you still may want to get onto a fire district if it's an overlapping district for an urban renewal agency, just so you can teach all the others what tax increment financing is all about and the way they should really be voting on these projects, because their districts are going to be losing money. And that's what the school board of North Bend did. They actually did their due diligence. They studied the proposal and they realized it was nothing but a scheme, and they shot it down. So I look at this study from Georgetown University and I think to myself, they're not really telling us anything we didn't already know here in Oregon. We're raising stupid kids, and you can tell that by the young adults who are wandering the streets who just don't have a clue. And so when people talk about, all those homeless people, they all have mental issues. No, they have stupid issues. They weren't educated. We didn't educate them as a society. We failed on our duty to raise children to have reason and rationale with their thoughts, and at least to be able to do the basic reading, writing, and arithmetic. And so that is contributing to the problem of homelessness. I can guarantee you, no, if you got kids who can't read or write, who the hell's going to hire these kids? Who? I know I would have a problem doing that. And I've actually have had to turn down people who couldn't read or write proficiently. It's a sad fact, but it happens. I'm going to quickly jump over to the comments right here and see what I have. Ashley Hicks says 100%. Thank you, Ashley. I do appreciate that. So moving on to the next story here. I want to share this one because this was just the issue that graced the board, our Coos County Commissioner Board, and it was about the county sheriff and a proclamation that Commissioner Rod Taylor wanted to pass on immigration, saying that the county supports federal law over the state law on these immigration policies. There was no directive in the proclamation. It was just a proclamation proclaiming that the county believes federal law trumps state law. I don't know anyone who's knows basic law. That's pretty much a fact. Federal law trumps state law. Just ask all those southern states when they seceded from the union. Yes, just ask them about state law versus federal law. You'll find out a lot about that. But this right here came from Josephine County. This is from Daily Tidings. And it talks about the Josephine County Sheriff walks a tightrope on immigration between federal law and state sanctuary. Sheriff Daniel vows cooperation with ICE, yet bound by Oregon's restrictive immigration laws. I'll read on down here. It says, in a press release following the Trump administration's hardline stance on illegal immigration, Daniel says he will not stand in the way or prohibit federal immigration practices, nor should he. And you know else who shouldn't be doing that is our good old Sheriff Fabrizio. If you're listening, Mr. Fabrizio, Sheriff, I would ask you to please do everything you can to cooperate with the feds. And I really wish you would have supported that proclamation that the commissioner was trying to pass, because it had absolutely no teeth. It was just symbolic, but it would have sent a message to, well, all those leftist liberals in the state who are trying to dictate who will and who will not cooperate with the feds in our county. This is our freaking county. This is not Tina Kotek's county. This is our county. This is the people who live here. We live here, Tina, not you. You don't live here, so you shouldn't be telling us what we can and cannot be doing as far as cooperating with the federal government. But I continue with the story. It says the sheriff says he will attempt to walk a fine line for now to avoid financial impacts on the community, but will not turn a blind eye to crime no matter what the cost. Daniel says he firmly believes that an individual who enters the country illegally commits a crime, and says emphasis should be placed on those who commit additional crimes while residing in the USA illegally. The sheriff says while his department has not been contacted by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement for years, probably because of the state law, the situation may change and ramifications of state statutes or federal directives may be forthcoming. And I would love to see Trump's Immigration and Naturalization Department make a move in Oregon. That would really be cool. And if they were smart, they would do it in all of the red counties, which are 30, what is it, 29 out of the 36? I think there's 7 that are blue. Maybe it's 6. I don't know. We have 36 counties, and about 30 of them are red counties. And I would love to see that immigration and naturalization head down here and, mess with some of these people and do their job, take away some of these criminals. And by the way, if you came to this country illegal, by definition, you're a criminal. And I have no malice towards you, but if you come into my country, and I don't own the country. When I say my country, I mean my country as in a familiarity, such as my friends. My friends are my friends. They're not your friends. So my country is my country, not your country if you're sneaking here illegally from some other country. And if you are doing that, you don't have a right to be here. And you certainly don't have a right to come here and tell all the rest of us taxpayers, hey, you have to pay for my education, amigo. You have to pay for my health care. That's right. You have to pay for all of it. I need an apartment too. And how about a cell phone? Can I get a cell phone from you guys? Come on. Well, I don't think I should have to pay for Pedro's cell phone or Pedro's family. And I'm sure Pedro's a really nice guy, but I don't even want to pay for my American neighbors. I don't even want to pay for their goodies. So why would you think I would want to pay for someone who comes here illegally? So when this sheriff talks about it, you notice that they're all walking a fine line. They're talking about how they could face financial penalties from the state because the state may hold some funding from a county just because they cooperate with the federal government. And that should be against the law. That should be a crime in itself. That should be a federal crime. And then you could go to the governor's house and arrest Tina Kotek, put her in cuffs and take her away. I think that would be a beautiful thing. And hopefully the Trump administration comes here with his naturalization and immigration department and starts messing around in these red counties. And let's find out what these sheriffs are really made of. That's what I'd like to see. I wonder what Gabe would do if INS pulls up to his sheriff's department and wants to know who he's holding in his cell. I wonder what he's going to say. I wouldn't give a damn what state law was. If it was the feds and these people were criminals, I would certainly turn them over. And especially if they're criminals who have committed other crimes. And so my point was, what I was just getting to a minute ago, is a lot of these sheriffs, just like this Josephine County sheriff, he talks about how they're going to go after the criminals first, the people who've committed other crimes besides coming into the country illegally. But at some point, if we get rid of all those criminals, we are going to have to get rid of people who came here illegally, but are trying to live good lives. That's not our fault either. It's not my fault that you decided to invade our country. And then you think we're just going to say, hey, what the hell? You can stay for a while. No, that's not going to happen. And by the way, I believe in the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if I went to any other country in the globe, and I went there illegally and I was demanding healthcare, welfare, food, whatever, I would hope you would tell me to get the hell out of your country and send me packing. That's how I want to be treated if I go to another country illegally. That's how I should be treated, or anyone should be treated. If you go to another country illegally, you're breaking the law. And I think in Mexico, it was like they have like a 5-year term for people who are in the country illegally. So you look at some of these other countries' immigration laws, and America is one of the most easiest ones to get into, but that doesn't mean we should be suckers. So I hope the sheriff does stand up and does do something about this. This ties into my next story. We're going to talk about some of the federal things that are going on. The feds freeze grant funding for some Oregon nonprofits, effective immediately. Boy, that's a good thing. Some of these Oregon nonprofits, boy, they're feeding the illegal immigration chain. They're feeding a lot of this wokeness, a lot of this DEI crap. They're the ones who are giving out grants to cities, forcing the cities to be discriminatory towards white people. North Bend, the city of North Bend is a good example. On their urban renewal policy, they give preferential treatment to minorities. Well, isn't that nice? All you crackers, you might as well get to the back of the bus. We don't pay attention to crackers no more. But the feds, this came out on the 5th, and this was also in Oregon Live. It says some nonprofit legal service providers in Oregon expressed dismay Wednesday following new federal notices they received that immediately froze grant funding designed to help legal permanent residents become U.S. citizens. And these are legal permanent residents. But why am I funding this? Once again, why do we fund everything? But the Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon is among those that received the notice from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security dated Tuesday. The nonprofit was told that its grant from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services was frozen effective immediately. And once again, I don't know why these churches, the ecumenical ministries, why are they getting grants to pay for the legal, to help legal permanent residents become U.S. citizens? Why is that my job too? As a taxpayer, this is the kind of crap that annoys the hell out of me. But as a taxpayer, there's good reason to be upset. If you look at what's happening on the federal level, I'm going to put up another screen here, see if I can share this. This came out. This was something the president signed, and it's been the top news story since he signed this. This is an executive order. It says, actually, this isn't the executive order, but this is the fact sheets on at USAID. Waste and abuse runs deep. I'm going to read from this. It says, for decades, the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has been unaccountable to taxpayers as it funnels massive sums of money to the ridiculous and in many cases malicious pet projects of entrenched bureaucrats who next to no oversight. Yes, that's what, that's literally what the city of North Bend was asking the school district of North Bend, was asking them to give them all this tax money, $35 million gift card, a stolen gift card. They were asking for that, and they were going to have no oversight so that the city manager down there, David Milliron, well, he could spend it on anything. Kittens for mittens. What does it matter? Kittens get cold, right? So there needs to be a lot of oversight. And in fact, I would say at a certain point, we just need to turn off the spigot. They keep talking about, well, we got to cover the debt. Well, why don't you take some of this money that was allocated for a lot of this BS and redirect it to paying off that damn debt? But here are only a few examples. These are only a few examples of waste and abuse. I mean, this list has grown dramatically since it was released a couple of days ago. But I'm going to give you some of the things off this list. 1.5 million to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities. Well, I'll be damned. You get up every morning, bust your ass going to work. You got to get the kids off to school and you go to work. You work really hard, sometimes 8, 9, 10, 12 hours a day. Well, you're just working to give, all those DEI lessons to a bunch of Serbians in the Serbian workplace. That's what you're working for. I feel a revolution coming on, this whole thing. Second on the list, 70,000 for production of a DEI musical in Ireland. Hey, we're all going to go to Ireland. That's right. We're going to find out who's a who. What are your pronouns in Ireland? That's right. A lass can be a lad and a lad can be a lass, I tell you. Yes. We're all going to Ireland. $70,000 for musical. Yes, I can only imagine what the hell the musical was. I'm going to have to check out what this musical was. It's got to be it's $70,000 musical in Ireland on DEI. I don't know why the Irish we didn't hear about the riot at the theater, because you would think the Irish would be a little bit more sensible than to put up with this garbage. 2.5 million for electric vehicles for Vietnam, because, after we've blown the shit out of their country a couple of decades ago, we sure as hell should be paying for their, EVs. We want to pay for those electric vehicles. I wonder if Tesla got any money out of that. I bet you they did. That's a good thing that you have someone like Elon Musk getting rid of $2.5 million for electric vehicles. I hope we don't do that again. Here's another one, $47,000 for a transgender opera. Scaramouche, Scaramouche, thunderbolts of lightning, very, very frightening. What could be a transgender opera? Mind-boggling. $32,000 for a transgender comic book. Because once again, you go to work every day, you bust your ass, you can barely feed your family, but what's important is that your money is paying for a transgender comic book. It's all about the love. $2 million for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala. That's right. We're turning boys into girls and girls into boys in Guatemala. Why not? That's what we work all day for. That's what $2 million for that. $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt. Oh, that just comes right out of left field. Why are we funding tourism to Egypt? Seriously, I imagine there isn't a state out there that couldn't use $6 million. And it would be nice if this money, once again, could be reallocated to pay off the damn debt. This is ridiculous. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for a nonprofit linked to designated terrorist organizations, even after an inspector general launched an investigation. Yeah, so now we're funding USAID. We're funding terrorists. That's beautiful. Millions to EcoHealth Alliance. Well, of course, because we gotta pay for more and more of that socialized medicine, which was involved with the research at the Wuhan lab. Because if we're gonna have a global pandemic, you want to be the one to pay for it. You want to be the one to pay for it. And I guarantee you, years we're going to find out that American dollars paid for the China virus that we were all suffered with in 2020, 2021, and 22. Well, hell, we still have it today. We just call it the flu now. Funding to print personalized contraceptives, birth control devices in developing countries. Isn't that nice? Contraceptives, birth control devices. I'm not even sure what the hell that is, but contraceptives. And how do you personalize them? Is that like you get your name on a condom? I don't know. A diaphragm. It's a diaphragm for Diane. Diaphragm for Diane. Yes. I don't know. Crazy. Hundreds of millions of dollars to fund irrigation canals, farming equipment, and even fertilizer used to support the unprecedented poppy cultivation and heroin production in Afghanistan, benefiting the Taliban. All right. I don't ever want to hear anyone talk about China or Mexico bringing fentanyl in here. When we ourselves, we as a country, are paying for the poppy cultivation and heroin production in Afghanistan to benefit the Taliban. I don't ever want to hear about China or Mexico because I get tired. They keep blaming China for our fentanyl problem. You know who you blame? All those derelicts on the street who keep shoving fentanyl in their body. That's who you blame. You don't blame China. That's like blaming, Twinkies, Hostess for fat people. We're going to blame Hostess for fat people. Ate too many Twinkies, so we're going to go after Hostess. Well, no. What you do is you tell fat people they just don't eat so much. This list literally goes on and has been happening for decades. And there are several stories out there that I just have to share with you. The Doge savings is now on the U.S. debt clock. Here is that tab. Let me make sure that came across. Yeah, that's good. Okay. U.S. debt clock now tracking Doge savings. Isn't this cool? This is cool. Here is the clock. And this is from the conservative treehouse. That is the website, the conservativetreehouse.com, and they have a story on the U.S. debt clock. It's that's one of my favorite things to show quite often is the debt clock. $36.5 trillion. Oh Lord, my great grandchildren are going to be paying that off. But Doge has been added to the clock, and as you can see, I believe that's 68 billion, 68 million. Gosh, there's a lot of numbers. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 68. That's $68 billion, I believe. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Geez. I don't know what we're going to do. I really don't know what we're going to do, but I'm glad they're putting it. They are putting that out there so that people know what's going on. So you can go to the debt clock and you can see what some of these people are doing. And this was a beautiful story. I love this story. Traumatized U.S. aid. Oh shit! That just destroyed my whole thing. Let's see. Traumatized U.S. aid worker who survived Doge bloodbath describes horror of watching everyone get fired. Oh, geez. Poor you. Poor you. You know, I don't give a damn about these fat cat bureaucrats. You're traumatized. Lady, you have been overpaid and underworked for years. The only one who should be traumatized are us taxpayers for the amount of waste that's been coming out of your agency. And what ticks me off are the people on the left are not complaining about the waste. They're complaining about the people who are exposing the waste. Isn't that interesting? We don't care. We don't care that they're wasting billions of dollars on a trans opera. You know, we have a trans opera. I don't know why nobody just didn't send them a copy of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. You want a trans opera? There you go. The Rocky Horror Picture Show. That should have been just fine. But no. We had to do a whole new stage routine. Yep. I'm going to go to a quick comment here. Ashley says, I can't pronounce that first name. Robinson, an American who went to Pakistan and demanded the government give her land and $2,000 or more. If you have been following this story, it's interesting. Well, Ashley, did she get the money? Did they give her the money? What did they do with Miss Robinson? I'm taking that first name as a lady's name, Onja. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but yeah, Ashley, yeah, if you got any news on that, I'd love you to share that for us. That would be a wonderful thing. But one of the other things that happened recently is the amount of money that goes to CARE. And if you don't know who CARE is, that's the Council on American Islamic Relations. And Nora Shalash, Director of Government Affairs for the Council on American Islamic Relations, Kentucky. She chased, assaulted, and threatened Jews inside a Midtown Manhattan building while yelling, "I demand jihad. I want ISIS to kill all of you, and I'm conspiring with Hamas." A USA ban on CARE is way overdue. And that's the other thing. Not only should we ban CARE, I bet you we're sending millions, if not billions of dollars to fund the CARE program. And once again, that's the Council on American Islamic Relations. I'm not even sure why we have a council for that. I'm not even sure, but I do have a video that I wanted to show you because this is what some people are having to put up with from people who are getting money from you and me, the taxpayer. You're going to love this.
A hateful bigot. Huh? Who is this woman? What do you know? I don't even know. Thank you. Come. This is insane.
I'm not leaving.
This is what Jews in New York City have to deal with in a place of business. It's my office, Nora. Okay?
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
Should I with you? No. No, I asked him if he did. I'm just hoping that this person has a mental...
I demand jihad. I demand jihad. I want ISIS to kill all of you.
Okay. All right, somebody call the cops.
I'm conspiring conspiring with
Sammy,
Hamas,
call Kevin over. I got
Palestinian
you.
Jihad,
Kevin.
and ISIS.
Okay.
I am conspiring with them.
Okay, this is going to go right to the FBI.
Perfect.
Holy cow. Are a hate.
Oh wow, what a crazy bitch. Could you imagine having to go to your Manhattan office and have this crazy woman yelling at you, kill the Jews, kill the Jews. You know, and I love funning with the Jews. I always talk about the Jews, you know, those Jews. And I'm just funning with them. I really don't believe that there's a Jewish cabal out there who's trying to take over the world. I think there's a bunch of globalists, a cabal of globalists, and those people are, some of them are Jewish, but I don't believe there's a Jewish cabal, even though I know there's a lot of you out there who disagree with me. And that's why I always like making fun. Oh, the Jews are doing this, the Jews are doing that. Well, I don't think that every individual Jew is part of the cabal. I don't know. You know, it's kind of like the Italians. Not every Italian is in the mafia. So I feel sorry for Jews right now because they're like white guys now. Jews are the new white guys. That, you know, because white guys, if you're a straight white guy, you can be made fun of, you can be called a fascist, and you just have to take it. Well, it's the same now with Jewish people. They on college campuses, and you're actually watching this stuff happen, and you're like, you know, I think this happened before 1936 Germany. This never turns out very well. Oh, I got an update from Ashley Hicks. Ashley says, pronounce Onijah. Onijah. Onijah, she's a black woman who went there to marry a 19-year-old, and after marrying her, his family packed up and left her behind. That's rich. That's rich. But she's, I skipped a comment there. She says, yes, they gave her the money and sent her back to America, but instead of returning home, she's now in Dubai. And then it says, so I guess that's where she was marrying a 19-year-old and they left her behind. Well, you know, sometimes you just get left behind. What can I tell you? No child left behind. Yeah. Well, Bush lied then too. Interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. Yeah, I've often thought of trying that myself. I'm just going to go to another country to make all these demands. And if they say anything, I'm going to claim racism. You're all a bunch of racists here in Sweden. You damn racist Swedes. Now give me my health care, damn it. Give me some pocket money. I need to go shopping in the Swedish markets, I tell you what, because I'm not going to be discriminated against in Sweden. I just refuse. So yeah, maybe I need to do that. I need to start going to countries, trying to enter the countries illegally and see what happens there. But then I don't want to end up in a Mexican jail. You never want to end up in a Mexican jail. Very, very bad things happen to you in Mexican jails. I got a couple of other news stories here. Let's see. I just talked about the lady at Doge who was crying. She was so traumatized. Well, this was a kind of an interesting story as well. And this is from Fox. Let me make sure it's up here on the screen now. There we go. And of course it's on the advertisement. Let's skip that. I should get some money for advertising free, but then again, I'd probably have to pay them for using their story. I don't know. It's a catch-22. Woman takes down U.S. flag, replaces it with Mexican flag at California park. This is Mexican land, which, you know, maybe in the early 1800s, she was probably right, but not anymore. Crystal Aguilera, 24, allegedly threatened Kern County Sheriff's deputies who proclaimed the area to be Mexican land, and which is perfectly fine if you want to do that, but don't be surprised if the park police show up and, well, do their business. It says a woman was arrested on Thursday after she took down an American flag and placed it on the muddy ground at a California park, replacing it with a Mexican flag. Lady, you could have been a little more respectful. If you're going to, replace our flag, show a little respect, damn. But Kern County deputies responded to the entrance of Hart Memorial Park in Bakersfield on Thursday morning after receiving reports of someone trying to steal the U.S. flag, the sheriff's office said in a social media post. And well, now that I find out it's Bakersfield, I probably wouldn't have a problem with Bakersfield going back to Mexico. Have you ever been to Bakersfield? but ugly place. But ugly place. You know, only people in Lubbock, Texas are jealous of Bakersfield. That Lubbock, Texas is, you know, maybe I don't Amarillo. I don't know. Only other place that's worse than Bakersfield. Just a but ugly place. And so, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem. I wouldn't have a problem at all if they, they gave Bakersfield back to Mexico. Maybe we should work on that. That's something maybe we should work on. Let's see. I had a couple of other stories here before I get out of here because, well, they were just damn entertaining. Nope, that's not one. Let me see. Boy, I hate when I get to a point where I'm not saying or doing anything, but oh, here it is. Here's the one story that I had to follow up on, and I'm going to share this tab with you. I don't know if you remember this story of this female priest. I think they're called priest. I'm not sure, but the unveiled hypocrisy, nasty bishop. Oh, she's not a priest. She's a bishop. She's a bishop. I don't know. I don't play chess, so I really don't know the pieces on the board. But the nasty bishop who chastised Trump's immigration policies revealed to have pocketed $53 million in taxpayer money. Well, isn't that special? Yeah, that's just that's just so special. So special that she's able to do that. Or what the church is.
Well, isn't that special?
Well, isn't that special? Yeah, there's the church lady. I mean, that's just beautiful. One church lady over another church lady.
Well, isn't that special?
Yeah, well, isn't that special? You know, that's just a beautiful thing. But this crazy left winger here, Bishop Marianne Buddha. Is it Buddha? I don't know, who famously criticized Trump during an inaugural prayer service, has been found to have pocketed a staggering $53 million in taxpayer funds through her organization, Episcopal Migration Ministries. Well, of course, it's the damn Episcopalians. And I could say that. I was actually an altar boy in the Episcopal Church, so I can say that. Those damn Episcopalians. Of course, the Catholics aren't much better. They're bringing over all these damn foreigners too. What's the matter with these Catholics and these Episcopalians? I don't know. I just, and like I said, I was baptized a Catholic. I was confirmed an Episcopalian, so I can criticize both of them with total impunity. I've served for both of those churches. So, screw you if you don't like me criticizing those churches, because, well, they're no better than the lefty commies who are running this country. And usually leftist commies are a bunch of godless atheists, which I don't have a problem with, but these people are hypocrite Christians. These are hypocrite Christians. And it just disgusts me that they would do damage to their own country by helping illegal aliens come to here illegally, help the invasion. But it says this bombshell comes as no surprise to those who see through the sanctimonious veneer of left-wing religious leaders who preach compassion while filling their coffers with public money. Bishop Buddha, during inaugural prayer services at the Washington National Cathedral, implored President Trump to show compassion towards vulnerable groups, including illegal aliens and members of the LGBTQ community. You know who's a vulnerable group? Us taxpayers. We're getting pretty damn vulnerable because we ain't got no more money. We ain't got no more money for your Episcopal Migration Ministries. So you could take your Episcopal Migration Ministries and you could shove it straight up your ass. God, I'd love to be able to say that right to this lady's face. I just would enjoy that. But let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Buddha began, as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. And there you go. This is the worst kind of Christian. This is a phony Christian. This is someone who's using God as a shield, as a hammer, both. She uses it as a hammer because she uses her religion to pound down on the president, saying, oh, Mr. President, you got to be fair to all these vulnerable groups. That's the hammer. Or I should say the sword and the shield. Yes, it's the sword. She's using the sword against her enemies, using the name of God. And then, of course, if you criticize her, she says, well, I'm I'm someone who wears the cloth, and I'm part of the church, and therefore you cannot criticize me. God shields me from any criticism because I'm doing his work. And if you criticize me, well, then he might smite you. This is the type of Christian we have. And these are the passive aggressive Christians. This reminds me of a Christian that I just had to deal with, a leftist Christian. Once again, one of these phony Christians. They're not sure whether they're communist or Christians. And these commie Christians who I deal with sometimes, I was at the county meeting online, and they have a chat room online. And one of the leftist ladies told Chris Castleman, who was also in this chat while the commissioners meeting was going. This was live right there on the screen of the commissioners meeting. We're having this conversation in the chat section of the Zoom meeting part. And everyone in the room could see this. And this lady basically told Chris to shut up. You need to shut up. And of course I said, hey lady, don't be telling us to shut up. You can go screw yourself. And of course she comes back, she goes, you don't have a religious bone in your body. I will pray for you. And I'm thinking, you leftist liberal commie, I don't need your prayers. I don't need you to pray for me. Maybe if you leftist baby killing vixens on the other side of the aisle stop killing your own children, you might take the consideration to pray for them, to pray for all of those unborn babies that leftist women have killed over the years. Maybe you should be praying for them, not me. So it really ticks me off when I get these Christians, these commie Christians, who use God's name like a shield and a sword. And just the fact that they use it makes it a crutch. That's right. So it's the shield, it's the sword, and the crutch. Isn't that great that you can use a God like that? Because if there is a God, I think God is going to look at this Episcopalian bishop, Buddha, the Buddha bishop. Yeah, explain that one in Taipan. They're going to look at these people and they're going to say, gee, Judgment Day is here, and you are one of those faux Christians. You are one of those commie Christians. I think if there's a God, he's going to be very, he's going to be smiting a lot of these leftist liberals. And I really don't want to hear any more of these leftist Christians telling me they're going to pray for me. I don't need your damn prayers. Save your prayers for the babies you've killed. Save it for them. Save it for the children that are being trafficked at the border while you are paying for the trafficking. You are helping the traffickers at the border through your nonprofits using our tax dollars. And you have the nerve to say to me, I'll pray for you. I don't need your prayers. I don't need your prayers. I don't need your sympathy. I don't need anything from a leftist commie Christian. And I get really sick of being talked down to by these people who think they speak for a higher authority. If that's your God, a God who wants you to take money from the taxpayers and pay for the trafficking in children on the border, if it's your God to pay for women to kill their unborn children, well then that's not a God I want to worship, you commie Christian, you faux Christian. So don't sit there and lecture me and then talk down to me with your, I will pray for you. I don't need your prayers. And I don't mean to offend anyone out there who's, a regular Christian, not a commie Christian, someone who goes to church and is actually devoutful without using God as a crutch, as a shield, as a sword. Because that's the problem with a lot of these commie Christians. And they're not the only ones. I've seen it done on our side as well. They will beat you down with the Bible. And you just got to stop it. It doesn't bode well for your religions. And then when you got these commie Christians up there doing this, my God, I don't know. I just get so infuriated by it. And like I said, I wish I would have wrote that comment to that lady when she said that. I'll pray for you. No, don't pray for me. Pray for the children that you're paying for their trafficking. Pray for the kids, the unborn kids that you're murdering. Why don't you try that? Let's see. Ashley Hicks says, if the churches paid property taxes, I bet they'd have a more common sense approach. I don't think any of us should be paying property taxes. I don't want to force any more taxes on anybody, Ashley. Not even the commie Christians. Because if I tax one, then that means they'll have to tax somebody else, because that's what they do. They justify it by taxing one person. So Ashley, I agree with you. I don't agree with you. I understand where you're coming from. You want to be punitive towards churches who are paying for the trafficking of children, the churches who are paying, and there are a lot of good churches out there. I've been to a lot of really good churches. So I'm not putting down all churches, and I'm not putting down all Christians. I want you to understand that. But when you got these people using God's name in vain and using it as a sword and a shield, well, we got a problem with it. Doug Farrell. Doug says, God isn't codependent, Rob. You are so right. God holds us accountable for our choices. Pain causes everyone to learn faster than anything. If you don't want to change, then God allows you to learn. And let's see, not all church ladies are phony. This is Gail. Love you, Gail. And Gail's the perfect example of a church lady who's not phony. And, but I thought it was funny that we expose Bishop Buddha as a phony church lady. And then I play this.
Well, isn't that special?
Yeah. Well, isn't that special? Because there are a lot of good Christians out there. There are a lot of good churches out there who are doing the right thing. And once again, you have to discern this stuff, but be careful people who use God for their own agenda. It's just disgusting. Let's see. I think that was the last of the stories I had for you. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the county. We're going to be having, like I said, some more meetings. I think Bandon has a town hall scheduled. They released a date and then they had to rescind it, and they're going to reschedule it, but they're going to have a town hall on the urban growth boundary. And, I think that's a good idea, because I have a lot of questions on the urban growth boundary, and like they tried to portray it. Oh, it's not about annexation, but in the end, it sounded nothing but all about annexation. So, that's going to be happening soon. And I do know that I'm probably going to be attending the North Bend City Council meeting, because I'm just ticked off at the mayor over there. She seems like a nice lady, but the things she said about the North Bend School Board, well, I think you need to be realigned there, Jessica Engelkey. I think that you were way out of line by the things that you said about the North Bend School Board, that they were working against working class families and the community and whatever else. They're killing kittens. It's she didn't really say that, but she might as well have said it. All the bad things she did say about the North Bend School District for rejecting her project, and she does get upset. And I'm sure Mill Iron, the administrator over there at North Bend, were real upset that we put a kibosh on their $35 million gift card. Sorry, too bad, but I'm not sorry. It's our tax dollars, and I think that you people, you don't have the ability to manage that type of money. And, and that's something that we're going to be looking towards in the coming up election cycle. That our ports, our port in Coos Bay is an international port. And when it became an international port, they changed it from a voting position to an appointed position by the governor. And I'm going to do everything I can to change that back. And it's going to cause a lot of infighting here in the county. But I don't want the king's bureaucrats in my county. I don't want the king's bureaucrats representing me on a district, because they're the king's bureaucrats. They represent the king Kotek. And I think she is king, because isn't she like the male in her relationship? Isn't she like the Butch Dyke in the lesbian weird relationship she has with her lover? I don't know. But it seems like it. So we'll title her King Kotek. I don't want King Kotek's bureaucrats representing me on the port. I want actual representatives that I vote for and have some hand in selecting. That's what I want. And we may be changing that. And it could mean a lot of changes for Coos Bay and the port of Coos Bay. But the port needs to be corrected. The port has done nothing but one boondoggle after another for the last 50, 60 years, and they've got nothing, zero to show for it. And it shouldn't be that way because, like I said, Coos County should be one of the richest counties in Oregon just by accident. Oregon should be one of the richest states in the union just by accident. But because we've got a bunch of commies and socialists who are running our government now, well, I guess we're going to get what we deserve. I don't know why we deserve it, those of us who didn't vote for these people, but we're going to share in the suffering, and that's what's going to happen. So, yeah, we need to take back the port, and we need to look at moving on past that. So there's going to be a lot of interesting things happening today. Starting, it actually started on Saturday, but the election offices are closed. But today you can sign up for the special districts. The special districts elections, these are the city councilors, these are the fire district, the hospital district, the school district, all those other miscellaneous districts. Well, they're up for election. This is the special district election that happens in May on the odd year. And we need people, but we only need you if you're going to do a couple of things. We need people who have backbone, people who are like the school board in North Bend who just rejected that urban renewal funding. We need people like them, people like Carol Yardley, people like Jim Jordan, people like Dallas Pettenbrink, who are on, and people like Michelle Roberts. Michelle Roberts wrote a beautiful response to the mayor. And of course, it was a very elegant and beautiful response to the mayor after the mayor of North Bend said all those horrible things about the school board. And she wrote this beautiful response on Facebook. And it was great to see a someone on a district who has made the right decision, who is taking the criticism, actually come out and defend themselves. Because with Michelle defending herself and her decision, you've defended the school board and all the other members who voted the same way you did, and you're defending all of us who showed up to the meeting or called you or emailed you or did not support this program, the proposal that the city of North Bend was making to the school district. She was defending them by defending herself, because everything she said in this response was absolutely beautiful. And I don't have it here to read because it was a lengthy response, and she put a lot of thought into it. And I appreciate so much that someone finally defended themselves, because a lot of people will make these decisions and then they'll be browbeaten because, you know, the bureaucrats are mad because the representatives of a school board didn't give them all this money. And of course, the mayor writes this nasty little press release about the school board. So thank you, Michelle Roberts. But not only did you do a good thing by defending yourself, which extended to defending the rest of us, but you set an example of what a representative should be. We want representatives who are going to work for the people who put them in office. Michelle's not on the school board to work for the district. They already have a superintendent that works for the district. Michelle is on the school board to represent the voters, us, who put her in office. And sometimes what's best for the voters is not always what's best for the district. And that's a hard choice. And I know a lot of people are going to have to make that if you get on to these boards. So we need people who have the fortitude to vote against taxes, who vote against tax increases, no matter how much your district needs it. The people just don't have the money anymore. We're broke. And we need people who are willing to say, well, I guess the district is going to have to sacrifice. And if we have to make some cuts, well, then so be it. And that's what's going to happen in North Bend. That's what's happening in the county. Remember, they told us, oh, we didn't pass this county tax levy that was on the ballot in this past May in 2024, this past May at the past general election. If we didn't pass that ballot, the whole world was going to stop and everything we know in existence is going to explode. That's basically what the county told us, that the world will end if we don't pass this tax levy. And guess what? We didn't pass that tax levy, and whoo, what? I'm still here. Are you still here? It looks like we survived. And the county is just going to have to adjust itself to live with the amount of money we're willing to give the county. And once again, that was the voters making the decision for the commissioners that what is best for the county isn't always what's best for the voters. So if you run for a district, no matter what that district is, hospital, fire, the college, whatever it is, your job isn't working for the district. They got fat cat bureaucrats who make a hell of a lot more money than you do working for the district. No, if you are a board member or a commissioner on one of these districts, then you work for the voters. You work for the voters. And if you sit there and make your decisions based on what's best for the district and not what's best for the voters, the people who put you there, you might not last. You might not last. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't happen. We don't replace bad politicians when they start working for the district instead of the voters. And that's what the Council of North Bend has done. You know, I supported a person on the City Council of North Bend, and his name is Matt Hamilton. He's, I still consider him a friend, but I wouldn't hire him again for any position on a board because he hasn't done anything to defend the people who actually put him into office. I'm not even sure if he's even talked to the people who have put him into office, because he seems to really orbit around the council now. And of course, the city administration, especially David Milliron. He's more one of them than he was one of us, the voters. So if you're going to run for these special elections, and once again, today you can register for whatever position is open, and there's a lot of positions open. You need to get on these boards. Make sure that you have the fortitude to say no. No, I know that my no is going to go against the benefits of the district, but it's going to benefit the voters. No to new taxes. No to an increase in tax. No to wokeness. No to DEI. No to all the other BS nonsense that they keep trying to shove down our throat. And if you don't have the fortitude or the balls to actually stand up to that nonsense, don't bother running. Don't bother running. Just stay out of the race. But if you do have the cojones and you can say no, then I want you in office, as long as you're willing to represent the voters and not the district that you get elected into. So that's a philosophical question, because I talk to people all the time who have increased. This just happened here in Bandon, where they just voted for a tax increase, an excise tax increase. And I went to talk to a couple of the board members, and they're conservatives. They're some of our people. And I said, why the hell are you increasing taxes? Oh, but that's on new permits for new building projects. And only Californians are moving here. So the Californians will be the one paying the tax. I don't want the Californians to pay the tax, just like I don't want the commie Christians to have to pay taxes on their churches. I don't think any of us should be paying property tax. But I have to go back to the school board, and I have to tell them, look, you're not there to vote for the district. You're there to vote for your voters. And we're now disappointed in you. But the problem is that we are going to be facing this new district election coming up. And there are going to be a couple of leftists who are going to try to take more of the seats on the Bandon School Board. And we got to maintain the few conservatives we have, because I know even though they just voted for an excise tax, they've also fought against the DEI and wokeness in the Bandon School District. So it's a balancing trick, and they're not always going to get it right. And so you have to ask yourself, do you want to compromise and support that candidate or not? And that's a decision we're going to have to make here in Bandon. And hopefully we have more conservatives who are willing to run. Once again, only if you can say no. If you can't say no, and you're going to be a weak-kneed politician who goes along with the administrator on your district and vote for the district and not your voters, the people who put you in office, don't bother running. Just don't bother running. So That's my message for today. And by the way, you can find out more about that on my website. I've got a post on there, the Rob Taylor Report, robtaylor.com. You can see right there, right there on the screen. Yeah, right there, robtaylorreport.com. You can go there, sign up for my newsletter. And not only that, but you can go to the blog page and it will give you all of the requirements for signing up for a candidate in special district elections. Or you can go to your county clerk's office here in Coos County. You can go to the website and go to the elections page, and it'll give you all the information on running in the special districts election. So I hope some of you consider it. And before I get out of here, I got to play the best commercial I think is out there. I don't know. This is I don't know what you guys think, but I think so. I think this is one of the best commercials out there. Just watch it. Tree Service, 3H Tree Service, one of my sponsors, great people, 3H Tree Service. If you need to have those trees removed, they can come in and remove them with surgical precision. They are masters at the craft of taking out your trees. And you got some trees that are problems or a liability. They got branches hanging over your garage. Maybe you got some branches hanging over your neighbor's garage, and you don't want to have the liability of those branches coming down and taking out your neighbor's garage, and then you have to pay for it. You don't want to do that. So you know what you do? You get on the phone, you call 541-294-1800. Once again, that's 541-294-1800, and you call 3H Tree Service, and you talk to probably Matt Holman, or maybe you leave a message. I'm not sure, but they will get back to you. Trust me, they're really good guys, really good people over there. The Holmans are excellent people. And give them a call, 541-294-1800, and get those trees removed. You don't want those trees gathering up in your yard. You don't want a fire hazard. You don't want a liability. And 3H Tree Service can take it out. And if you enjoyed that commercial, I love that commercial, you got to go check out their Facebook page, 3H Tree Service Facebook page, where they've got all kinds of cool videos. Really good. They were just working on a transmission for one of their gosh, I can't think the shredder, not the shredder. Yeah, they were fixing one of their trucks. They had the tranny go out, and they have a whole video on it. It's amazing. Beautiful stuff going on there. 3H Tree Service, 541-294-1800. Chipper, wood chipper. I don't know why that didn't come to mind. Their wood chipper, the transmission went out on their wood chipping truck, and so they were showing the work on it. So sorry about that. Facebook, 3H Tree Service. Give them a call, 541-294-1800. Let's see, Tom and Gigs. Go see Tim over at Tom and Gigs if you have any automotive needs. He can do shocks, struts. He can align your car. You can put on a new muffler. The guy can do just about damn near anything you want done to your car. He can do it, and he can do it pretty damn proficiently. He is very an expert at working on your cars. He's got a great crew. He's got a very well-trained crew. And if you want to get your car checked out, summer's coming up, spring's coming up, and you're going to want to get your car checked out, give them a call at Tom and Gigs. You can pull it in there and they will check it out. If you need an RC car, you need a remote control car, they got the coolest. They're the largest RC dealers on the coast here. The RC section of their business is just full of all those little parts that go on those RC cars, and they're really cool. It's a very entertaining hobby. I really like it. And if you want to go to Tom and Gigs, you can head over to 135 South Shoneman Street. That's 135 South Shoneman Street in the Empire neighborhood behind the car wash. And of course, if you know where Empire is, you know where the car wash is. And so check them out. Tom and Gigs, they're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, and they are excellent at working on your car. Oh, by the way, if you need some tannerite, Tommy Giggs got some. I mean, you never know. You never know. You got squatters, they got tannerite. I don't know. I'm just not saying anything there because I don't want to go to jail. Tommy Giggs for all your automotive needs. And of course, Herbal Choices. If you have any herbal needs, Herbal Choices can take care of all those herbal needs. They have a sale coming up the 12th through the 14th. It's a Valentine's Day sale. And they've got some gummies that are on sale. They've got pre-rolls up for sale. There's all kinds of things that they've got up for sale. You'll have to go check it out. I can't even give you the prices because that would be illegal, but I can tell you that they are my sponsors. And remember, if you're under 21, don't be smoking pot. I know I sound like an old guy preaching to you, but I'm not preaching to you. I'm telling you from experience. You need to have that brain a little bit more matured before you start pickling it with alcohol and drugs. Okay. And I understand, I lived a life of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And when you're young, you do those things. But if you're under 21, man, don't be smoking pot. And they're not going to let you in the store anyway. So that's the nice thing about this. If you go to Herbal Choices, everyone there is a consenting adult. And so you can go there, talk to the bud tenders, get expert advice. The parking lots are all well lit. The stores are very well designed. The products are the top of the line. So if you have any herbal needs, Herbal Choices, but only if you're over 21. Because like I said, you got to have a mind before you waste it. Just something to throw out there. And of course, Oregon Firearms Federation, the only no compromise gun group in the state. And I'll tell you what, Kevin Starrett is battling them damn legislatures in Salem like nobody's business. I tell you what, the poor man, I don't know. I think we should send him a cape with an S on it. That's right, because he's like Superman. Oregon Firearms Federation, Kevin Starrett is the director, and he's been fighting for your gun rights for about 3 decades plus. And Oregon Firearms Federation, like I said, is the only no compromise group. Drop a line to OregonFirearms.org, sign up for their newsletter so you know what's happening in the legislature. And I have Kevin on the show quite often talking about what's going on, and we'll be getting him on soon again. So you need to support yourself by supporting Oregon Firearms Federation because they're the few people who are still fighting for your gun rights. And like I said, don't depend on anyone else other than yourself. You're the only one you got. And I don't think anyone else is coming to the rescue as far as the Second Amendment. But Oregon Firearms Federation, they will be there. OregonFirearms.org. They're not my sponsors, but I like to mention them. Band and Gun Club. bandandgunclub.org, and you can find out more about the Band and Gun Club if you're in Bandon and you want to hone your skills with your firearms or your shotgun. Band and Gun Club is the place to go, bandandgunclub.org. And of course, Band and Gun Club doesn't have a rifle range, but they have one at Tioga Sports Park, and you can find out more at the TiogaSportsPark.org website, where they'll tell you all about what's going on down there. They were opened up this past weekend. I'm pretty sure they were open. We went to the dump and they were opened up. So go to their website. I think they have a training coming up for women, especially designed just for women, how to safety training for firearms. So go to TiogaSportsPark.org if you're a woman who wants to learn more about how to use your firearm proficiently. They can help you out. They do these lessons. You can sign up for it. And I think what usually happens is if they do like a woman's training, it's just all women there because you don't want us guys there. We'll be trying to show you up. And the sad fact is women are usually a better shot than men anyway. It's true. It's true. How I know this? When I was in New Mexico, I'd go out shooting on the range, and on the regular range right next to it was where the law enforcement used to practice. And sometimes we'd go over there and we'd watch sometimes it was the FBI, ATF, the sheriff's department, whoever, they were over there training. And there was a Navajo woman. She was a little Navajo woman, had these big, thick glasses, and she was an incredible shot. And she would always show up the other FBI agents. And it just cracked me up. All these big, tough FBI agents. I don't know if they're the ones who, been doing those nefarious things, but these were, FBI agents, big, tough FBI agents, supposedly, macho guys. And this little Navajo woman would outshoot them every single time. Yeah, so well, ladies, check out Tioga Sports Park because I hear they have a training for women coming up on how to handle your firearm. And of course, Coos County Neighborhood Watch. They're on Facebook. Did you know that there are people out there driving all over the county? I do it myself. I go on patrol and I'll patrol certain areas and we're looking for crime. And, mostly it's, if you see a crime, you just report it. Sometimes we have to, if we see a crime in commission, sometimes you have to report it. Yeah, you have to film it. We take pictures of it. We take pictures of the criminal. You can go to the website Feral Humans. In fact, let me see, because you can't get Feral Humans on the Facebook page. You can't get it on the Facebook. Nope. No, the Feral Humans website, Coos County. This is a really good website. And let me see if I can share this because like I said, they won't let you see it on Facebook anymore. So let me see if I can share this. Get my share screen down there. So if you go to what's on the screen, the Coos County Neighborhood Watch, there's another website that you can go to that will show you who the criminals are in Coos County. And here's the website right here. It's called Coos Most Wanted or Feral Humans, Coos County. And look at here, the first one who pops up. Let's see, let's click that off. 33-year-old Kayla Renee Waltick, charged with criminal trespass, 2nd degree, was cited in lieu of custody and released back into the wild for the 6th time in 3 days. Yes, that's what this woman is doing. So if you want to find out what's going on in your community, first go to Facebook and join the Coos County Neighborhood Watch, and then sign in to the Feral Humans. You don't actually have to sign in. You just log in. I think the website is coosmostwanted.com, coosmostwanted.com, and you can see all the criminals in our county. Look at here. Here's 57-year-old Michael Allen Lucas. Yeah. What did this guy do? Let's see what this guy did. He was arrested on warrant for failure to register as a sex offender and transported to CCJ just to be booked and released. Well, that's nice. So this Michael Allen Lucas, he's wandering out there, pervert, a sex offender, sexual deviant, a degenerate. Well, he's out there wandering around now. So you can find out about this on this Feral Humans. Let's see. This is interesting. Let's go down. Oh, here's one. 33-year-old Christopher Sean Banks, charged with criminal trespass too, and was transported to CCJ just to be booked and released. Nobody stays in jail in this county. No one stays in jail. And there you can see that. Well, criminal trespass. That's not too bad. At least he's not a sexual deviant. Oh, here's Kayla Renee Waltick again. There she is. She's real popular. Oh, here we go. Driving while suspended. 34-year-old Leroy Manuel Capote, charging driving while suspended or revoked and transported to CCJ just to be booked and released. Yeah, that was driving while suspended and revoked. That's not too bad, but they all have past records. Let's see. In fact, if you go there and you click on the name, it will show you a whole list of these people. This is really cool. And it will go through all the different instances of arrest that she's experienced. And so you get to know who these people are. And the nice thing about it is you can search by name. So you can put in there. Let's search by name. Let's see if my name is in there. I'm curious. Rob Taylor. Let's see if I'm in there. 0 results. Well, that's weird. I guess it's because I'm not a sexual deviant out there trespassing on people's properties. Maybe that's something the criminals should learn. Well, I know. Let's type in someone else. Let's type in David. Oops, can't spell here. David Mill Iron. Let's see what we get there. No. Oh, let's see again. Maybe it's because I'm not capitalizing it. I don't know. Let's see here. And we'll enter that. Search. No, well, let's see. Maybe I've got the wrong one. I'm sure it was on here. Mill. Oh, well, I don't know how to spell his last name. That's why. Oh, Mill Iron. Let's see. Let's see if I can get this. Mill Iron. Maybe I'm just not spelling this right. Oh, there it is. David Allen Mill Iron. Oh, and look who pops up. Known associates, Kendall Ray Edwards. I don't know who that person is, but this is the manager. Incident report. A concerned citizen wrote a letter to a local newspaper to petition the government for a release of grievances, and the newspaper published the letter in an editorial select section. David Mill Iron got upset because the article was critical of the mayor, so he decided to launch an investigation to determine the identity of the citizen. He then announced the identity of the citizen at the next city council public meeting in an attempt to intimidate the citizen and anyone else who criticized the mayor. Because, well, let's face it, she gets kind of bitchy when she loses, 35 million. She gets a little bit bitchy. So there's David Mill Iron. So you can type that in. So maybe let me make sure that my name wasn't in there. Let me see if I can get that in. C-A-Y-L-O-R. Let me see. Maybe I had to capitalize it. I don't know. I don't think so. That's usually not the case. And 0 results. So I'm not in there. But here's funny. This was funny. People were complaining that their names are on there. So Matt Wilbanks put himself in there, I believe. Maybe I'm not spelling that right. Maybe it's only one L. Wilbanks. Maybe that's what it is. Okay, well, maybe it's maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's maybe it's Matthew, but I'll just put in the last name and see what we come up with. Nothing. Okay. Well, I thought he put himself in there. Doesn't really matter. If you want to find out more about feral humans, I would go to Feral Humans, Coos County. Just look it up and you can check it out. And we try to put their pictures up. And what's the nice thing is like I said, there are people out on patrol. So if we don't have the criminal's mugshot, guess what? We're taking their picture. We're identifying them and we're taking their picture and then we're exposing them for who they are. Because we're not going to put up with this crap anymore. We're going to fight back. That's what honest, good citizens do. We fight back. And it's something I wish more people would do, would take a stand against these derelicts of society. I don't know how more to express that, but Doug Washington, he has an expression, and this is a real good, don't be a cuck. Take your neighborhood back. That should be everyone's motto. I'm going to make a sticker just like that. I'm going to make that sticker and I'm going to hand it out to as many people. Don't be a cuck. Take your neighborhood back. Take your neighborhood back. It's time to stop. It was funny the other night, Friday night when I was doing the show, I got a call from my neighbor because there were some weirdos down at the end of the street and it looked like they were doing drugs, just hanging out. That's what they do at the dead end part of our street. And she calls me up. And of course I couldn't answer the phone. I was on the show. It was a live broadcast. And so she sent me a text message. Rob, there's a truck at the end of the street. And she told me the story I just told you. And she says, but I called the police. The police are here and they're now leaving. So that's what you do. You got weirdos at the end of the street. We here in Bandon, we just call the police department, and good old police chief Corey Dillon. He makes sure his guys, they come out here and make sure they're not up to any no good. We don't want them up to no good. And so, yeah, that's what you got to do. Don't be a cuck. And I'm glad my neighbors, they take that advice. So I want to thank all of you for joining me. It's been a wonderful time. I appreciate it. Doug and Gail, thank you for watching. I do enjoy having you with us. And we're going to take back that port. Don't worry, we're going to take back that port. So I hope you all joining me. I think we're going to be talking with someone. I'm trying to get Bob Soden on here, but it's so hard because he's so involved with the legislature. I'm going to try to get him on here to see if he can talk about what's going on in Salem. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. We'll see. But I got a lot of other guests planned on. I got a contact today from a guy who says he's running cars on ammonia. It's what do they call that? hydrogen based fuel. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to find out more about it. But he contacted me from Canada. Can you believe it? Some guys contacted me from Canada, wants to go on the podcast. I said, sure. What the hell? So we'll have him on in a couple of weeks, and we'll see what's going on. But you know what I always say? Until then, carry on, Coos County. Carry on.